What we're going to really talk about tonight is some lessons that we've learned at DocSoc and that I've learned about how we do business different today than perhaps it's been, some things that are different than just it was, from my father who's an entrepreneur, and I learned a lot from him. And then also some predictions that I've got of over the next 40 years, what I think is going to be really different. So we'll get started and talk about the future of entrepreneurship. Cost is no longer a barrier. Your credit cards fund businesses that can make you a millionaire. So let me tell you part of my story. It was in 2007, and I was finishing law school at Pepperdine, and I had the idea for this website that basically you could get any document you needed for your business. And I had never done anything in tech before. And I had $20,000 in my savings account, and I had access to some student loans. And that was the capital that I used to start the business that today has 38 million members, employs 50 people here in Santa Monica, and has over at 20 million people a month come visit our website every month. And if I had even tried to start that same business 10 years before, in 1997, just the cost of servers and infrastructure to get it off the ground would have been at least $1 million. And so I and all of my counterparts have been the beneficiary of this massive economy of scale that the cost of the goods that it takes to create businesses has dramatically decreased. And that's just not in the field of creating websites. Let's break down the kind of three main businesses that you might start, right? You might be a service provider, so you provide your own professional services as a lawyer, as an accountant, as a consultant. Let's say you sell a physical good. You would have traditionally been a retailer. Or in the third category, let's say that you actually want to develop software. Well, if you're a service provider today, it is easier than ever to get into business, and there is every kind of company to help you, whether it's to get business cards for free or to have email programs that are no cost to you or online storage with sites like Box and Dropbox. If you want to sell your own services, it virtually costs nothing to have the professional presence that even 20 years ago would have cost you maybe $100,000. And that time in life where people had to spend money on getting, they went to their attorney and it cost all this money to get incorporated, and I want business cards and need letterhead and I need a nice plaque on my door, all that is gone. And in 24 hours, you can start selling your service and be making thousands of dollars. If you want to sell a physical product, you don't need to go get a lease anymore and sign a long term and raise lots of capital and go to the bank. You go on a site like Alibaba.com, you have a product sent over from China, you do just-in-time shipping, and for $5,000 you can put your products on Amazon and on eBay, and you can be getting customers within 24 hours, and that capital investment was tiny. And if you want to create software, if you want to create a website like DocStock, if you want to create an app that you see all your kids using on their mobile phones, if you want to create any kind of website to engage a customer, $5,000. So today, with our credit cards, virtually any one of us can start a business that could make us millionaires. And the barrier of cost is no longer there, and no longer an excuse of why we can't be successful entrepreneurs. Number two, our network is our key currency. That is the currency by which in the future we will do business. The cold call is dead. It's how is your network and your influence going to open up doors for you. I literally do not check the voicemail on my office phone. I have not checked the voicemail on my office phone in about a year. There are probably 200 messages on there.
That's why I couldn't get into the
Right? In fact, I get 300 emails a day. And a large portion of those emails are from folks that I've never met that have their own entrepreneurial passion or vision or have a question. And the vast majority of emails I get, I don't even respond to. What I do respond to are introductions from my network. There's a benefit and a disadvantage, right? So today professionals are on LinkedIn, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on every kind of conceivable network. You know one of the ways that I will form relationships? I recently wrote a post on Forbes called 20 Things 20-Year-Olds Don't Get. And I sent a message to Jack Welch and to Twitter and to Oprah saying, hey, check out this article. And within 24 hours, both Jack Welch and Oprah Winfrey retweeted my article. And they did it in part because they could see that when they went to my account, that I had 11,000 followers, that I had people that followed them, that we had connections in common, that they could see my network online. And that provided credibility and influence. And so it will always be who you know that gets you the competitive advantage in business, not what you do or what you provide. But who you know is now connected to both the size and the quality of your network. And if you're starting a business and you're not spending time building up that network, both online and in person, then your ability to move your business forward will be severely hampered for it. So along with that is number 3, maintain your personal brand. Virtually everything and anything we do from this point forward is forever recorded and easily accessible. We are now raising a generation of folks that have the expectation that everything in their life should be public. We tweet in live time where we're going. We check in on Foursquare to say what we're doing. We go on apps now that tell us who's around us in our physical area that might be interested in wanting to date us just based upon looking at our picture. Where we are at every moment and what we do is now recorded, and it is going to be forever accessible. And what that means is, as professionals and as entrepreneurs, your reputation and your own personal brand is more important than ever. Google Jason Nazar, and you will find 100,000 results at your fingertips of videos, of talks, of speeches. And I am not the outlier. That is the common result for the vast majority of people who live their life in any kind of online or public form, which is every single one of your children. But it also means that any person or persons or company that I'm looking to do business with now can so easily access everything about me. What do other people say on chat boards? What was that speech that I gave in 2006? What do people think of my company? What's my Facebook profile? What's my LinkedIn profile? And whereas 50 years ago, if you made a major blunder in business, maybe a year passed, 5 years passed, and people forgot about it, and you got a fresh, clean start. Those days are gone. And your own personal brand is something to be maintained and cultivated and taken care of, because people will find you and what you do and what you say, and they will use it as the basis of whether they want to do business with you or not. Number 4, youth has the advantage in entrepreneurship. Your opportunity cost is the lowest, and your upside potential is the highest when you are at your youngest. Mark Andreessen, who is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, he started Netscape, and he's the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, which is one of the largest venture capital firms, wrote this really amazing blog post about the difference and benefits of being an entrepreneur when you're really young, when you're 20 years old, when you're 18 years old, versus when you're older and more mature. And he talked about if you're starting a company when you're 40 and 50, you have wisdom, you have experience, you have a more developed network. But you also have more financial responsibilities, you have more obligations on your time, you have less energy, and you have a much higher bar of your opportunity cost. And you will generally be less willing to take big risks, because if they don't work, your time to keep swinging at the plate is limited. And it is not uncommon to go into an office of a venture capitalist, either here in town or in Silicon Valley, and have them tell you that you are too old as an entrepreneur because you are 30. And literally, and this is most often for first-time entrepreneurs, right? If you've already done something and been successful, you'll get a check no matter what age you are. But if you're going out for it the first time, they want to see that person who's 18, 19, 20, 21 for a couple reasons. A, they know that they'll work 18 hours a day. What else do they have to do? They don't have a family. They don't have responsibilities. Their life becomes their business. And in your youth, it's when you have the biggest dreams and you don't know how difficult things are and you don't know how hard things are and you're not jaded. If someone had told me at 27 how difficult it would be to scale DocStock to the point it's at today, I would not have done it. I spent the first 2 years of the company working with my co-founder Alon 16 hours a day in our office. I did not leave the office every single day until 2 to 3 a.m. I did it for 2 years straight for 6.5 days out of the week. If you had told me that's what I was signing up for when we first started, I don't know I would have done it. But it's that naivete and wide eyes of your youth that makes you want to jump into these things. And you have this boundless energy, and a lot of being an entrepreneur is just energy. The ability to sustain your own energy and keep going and have other people around you feed off of that and feed off of your momentum and your excitement. And the fact of the matter is, because it costs so much less to be an entrepreneur, right? It used to be 50 years ago that you couldn't be an entrepreneur in 20 because you didn't have the capital for it. What was the common thing? Well, I'm going to work for the next 20 years and I'm going to skimp and I'm going to save and I'm going to build this little nest egg and then I'm going to use that. I'm going to start my little corner store. You got a credit card, you got $5,000 accessible to you, you're in the game. And if you're 20 and you spend from 20 to 22 trying to start a business and it doesn't work, guess what? You've got 22 to 24 to try again, and 24 to 26. The law of averages says some of these times can be successful. If you give yourself 5 full shots of 2 years each to start a business from 20 to 30, I'm telling you, you're going to hit a big home run at some point in that time if you put your all into it. It's a lot harder to take that same 10-year timeline if you're 50 years old and you've got a mortgage and 3 kids and 3 college educations. Next point. Find the leader in every employee. So now let's talk about the part of entrepreneurship that's not so self-directed and more about other folks. So I often will tell this to the folks that work in my office, which is, if you were the CEO of the company, how would you conduct yourself and what would you do? The days are gone of telling the folks that work for you, don't do that. That's not your responsibility. Stay out of that area. Just do what you're told. I have never once said that to anyone that's ever worked for me. What I do say all the time is, why are you waiting to be told what to do? You can do anything. And if we hire somebody as an entry-level employee for $18 an hour, and he or she wants to map out a completely new product experience to build, they can put that together in a presentation, sit in front of our executive committee, pitch it, and if we like it, the next day they're off the race and they've got a completely different job title and they're doing it. And if somebody in my company wants to come to me and says, hey, I know I'm responsible for X. I'm going to make sure X gets done. But I want to spend all this additional time doing Y, and here's how I think Y can help the company. Done. And I talk to every single one of my employees and I tell them, don't think of this as you working for our company. First off, you're an owner in the company. Every single full-time employee at DocStock has stock options. He or she is an owner of our company. And start thinking like an owner. If this was the business that you started and you were the CEO and everyone in your friends and family knew that, what would you do? How would you conduct yourself? That's the way that we want everyone who works for us to think and feel and act about their job. Next, your Division 1 head coach. When it comes to growing a team, what I often ask them is, how are we going to mutually benefit out of the next 1 to 4 years. The days of career folks in companies are gone. There are no more 30 years, here's your watch, here's your pension. I would be surprised if the concept of a work pension even exists in 25 years in the private market. On average, people work for our company for a year and a half. And we're kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to tech companies, right? There are 50 folks that work for us now, but there must have been 150 folks that worked for us at some point. I don't expect that anyone that's coming into work for our company is going to be staying there longer than 4 years. In fact, in a lot of cases, if they did, it means they're not meeting their growth potential. Now, there's always some exceptions. We have some amazing engineers that have been with us since we started, and I hope that they stay with us for the whole length of the company. But in a market like this, where job skills increase so quickly and are so iterative, and the pace at which professionals, the bar is held so high to increase, I think of myself as literally a Division I basketball coach. And the conversation I have with everyone is following when they start. We're making a deal here today. And the deal is that I'm your coach. And I don't know how long for sure you're going to be with us. It may be as short as a year, or it may be up to 4 years or longer. But I know you want to go on to do something bigger and better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push you every single day to get the absolute most out of you, and for you to take your professional capabilities further than you ever thought you could. And you are going to work harder and smarter for this company than you have any time before. And implicit in that deal is I'm going to set you up for success in whatever you want to do next. Whether that's start your own company, which, by the way, the vast majority of employees that we hire want to do. We've had no less than a dozen folks who have started at DocStock start their own companies. Or whether it's that you want to move on and have the following job titles. And in our case, every single year if an employee is with us, we do a meaningful raise with them. It's not uncommon that within a year they have an advancement in their job title. And if they want to lateral from one area to another, that's common as well too. And so I see my role as an entrepreneur hiring folks entering the job market and in their 20s and 30s to be a facilitator of what they want to do next. And the implicit deal is you're going to give me everything you got for the next year or two, and I'm going to help you get to that next place you want to be, which in many cases is to be their own entrepreneur. You work for your employees. Providing a paycheck won't cut it. You have to provide purpose and perks. Let me just give you a sense of what our office is like, right? And we have folks that work incredibly hard. There'll be people at our office that are there until 10 o'clock tonight, working on engineering and content and on business development. And we want to make sure to reward these folks for their hard work. My dad is 83. My dad is 83, and this Persian Jewish guy that seems like he came from not only a different world and time, but a different planet. And I made the mistake one time of inviting him on a day that we both, A, brought in lunch for the entire team, B, broke early for drinks, C, had a masseuse there throughout the day. And every time I see my dad, he goes, "Mr. Big Shot, I would want to come work for you. How much does this person make? I can't believe it. Why'd you pay them so much money?" You have to make the workplace and environment a fun, attractive, and purposeful place to work, because virtually everyone that works for me has the option to go work anywhere else for just as much, if not more money, this very second. And so the mentality that's different is not, hey, I'm giving you a bunch of money, you got to do what I say. I'm constantly selling my own employees why they should and want to work in our own company. And it doesn't start with the perks. The perks are the nice things that round it out, that make it a place that you want to stay in, right? The advantage of having a 10,000 square foot office on Santa Monica and 4th, and bringing in meals for the team, and having a stocked kitchen, and having some flex hours, and paying for, different things for the employees, and bringing in a masseuse and bringing in a chiropractor is so that they want to stay in the office and work more together as a team. But those perks are just the icing on the cake. The real meat is that we give them a chance to do something purposeful. That they come in every day knowing, today I'm part of a team that is helping millions of businesses worldwide to make their small business better. And they feel connected to that purpose and they're driven by that purpose. Because that's what folks coming up want. They want to have a chance to really believe and know and feel that what they're working on is making a difference. And there is a division. There are a lot of folks that don't have that opportunity and do have to work for a paycheck. But more and more, it's going to be either binary 0 or 1. You're either working somewhere just to make a paycheck, or you're really on a path where you want passion and purpose and perks in your workplace. And the model that you see today at Google, where there's food all day long for all employees and couches and sleeping beds and nap times and on activities, that is the model you're going to see of a lot more companies as years go by. Let your team self-organize and manage. So let's make our employees accountable to the team and each other, not just to their manager. This is a lesson that I learned from my VP of engineering, which is the traditional model of having an employee feel responsible to this one manager that's going to rate his or her performance is not going to cut it anymore. What will make your employees really engaged and active is that they self-organize around a project. So we have your typical job titles at DocStock, and then we have functional roles. And your functional role is the project that you're working on to accomplish. So you may be in engineering, you may be in content, you may be in marketing for us, right? And those would traditionally be the teams that you work on. But what we do is we let the company self-organize around the project they're trying to complete. So if we have people who work in content and people who work in product and engineering and marketing that are all working towards the same goal, they sit together, they work together, they're a team, and they go after their goal. And that's not something that we, as a manager, tell them they have to do. We let them just self-organize. And then they manage themselves. Obviously, a goal is given by someone that they report to. But then it's not the manager that's typically keeping track and saying, hey, how are we doing? We may build team accountability. And our VP of engineering has done this amazing job of getting our engineers sitting together and holding each other accountable for the past couple months as we work on a complete rebranding of our website. And nobody's telling them that they need to stay till 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night at the office. They're holding each other accountable because they feel accountable and a sense of ownership to the product that they're building. And they as a team want to accomplish this goal. And feeling part of a team that you're responsible to is always infinitely more powerful than this person that you report to telling you what you do and don't have to do. The organization now scales flatly. How can we do less with more at scale? More with less at scale. How can we do more with less at scale? Let me give you an example first off of what it's like at DocStock, and by the way, at most tech companies. You can go to Facebook, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, and when you walk in there, it's a completely open floor plan. There are almost no offices except for conference rooms that folks need to meet in. And the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, will be sitting out in a main open cubicle station with no dividers next to a group of other folks. And all the calls that people take are typically done in public. And meetings are had right there. There's no sense of there's a closed door policy. At DocStock, most of the time I sit out in a main open area with, about a third of our company organized right there. And if you look at the vast majority of tech companies, they, in many cases, don't even have an office. The concept of a CEO office, a VP office, your name on the door, that is gone. And in fact, you're ridiculed for having it. And it's partly in the sense of look, there's nothing that divides us, we're all one team. but it's also about the fact that we're going to be as efficient as possible. And as we grow at DocStock, we're constantly asking ourselves, how can we grow and not have to add layers of management? And part of that is by making a leader of every employee. That if we have somebody that's a year out of college and doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience, but they're growing well, I don't need to hire a manager to be their head of marketing to tell them what to do. And there aren't people in our company, which isn't very large, it's 50 folks, but are there just managing other people. Everyone there is getting something meaningfully done. Everyone is responsible for producing, for creating, for making the product, for interacting with customers, for helping to get customers, for providing a better experience. And I think what you will see as time goes by is companies that do the same revenue as companies that did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago with a fraction of their employee count. If you look at how efficient Google is today from an employee count versus the revenue they make versus even Microsoft, it's outstanding. Google per employee makes more revenue than just about any company in the entire world. And what you'll continue to see is people doing less with more and less middle managers hired and people that are just responsible for growing the company. And entrepreneurs will continue to have to build their businesses that way. And finally, as we talk about transitioning into the predictions, this is the last point for now. Old is new. And we'll talk about a whole number of ways, but one of my favorite ways is I won't answer an email. I won't respond. Like, again, I told you, I will get hundreds of emails a day that I will never even look at. If you send me a handwritten letter, that is getting open and read, I promise you. I have about 40 to 50 people a day that I've never met that reach out to me, which I sincerely appreciate because I probably means they think that there's something that I've accomplished or that I know that can help them. And if I could, and when I can, I respond to as many of those folks as possible. And part of the reason we do live events is to invite all those people to a forum where I can meet with them at least once a month. But in most cases, at least on the first response, I don't have the time in the day to respond to all those folks. Last week, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, from an entrepreneur, not even in the United States, not that I've ever met, but from Chile, telling me about their business. And I was so touched and so appreciative of just the fact that they took the time to write a handwritten letter that I wrote back to them and set up a call and spent an hour helping them out. Things that it seems are antiquated and dated in business will be the things that as we move forward are the absolute most important. As we get to more scale, what you'll find is the companies that we deal with are more and more faceless. They won't even be brands that we associate with. The products that we buy will be more and more commodities. And what will be more and more important is the way that we did business 500 years ago, where we literally went to a market, a Persian bazaar market, and you did business with that person that you personally knew and had a relationship with and trusted, will be all that more important. Now, it may not look like that in the future. The way that you meet people and interact with them will be different. But that personal aspect, that sense that I'm going to buy this product or use this service because I really trust the person and persons behind it, is going to be all the more important. And one of the things you see now more and more with online companies is that they completely expose who they are. You go to their websites and you see everyone that works there and funny little anecdotes about their personal lives. And why is someone talking about this embarrassing moment they had on their company About Us page? Well, it's to get a sense of the people that really provide the products and services that we want and that we're going to use. So those are the 10 things to me that were, I think, the most pronounced about how I think about, as my dad started a business when he came to this country and really started working for himself in the 1960s, to, as I've been running this business over the last 8 years, what are different. But let's take it even further, right? Let's talk about 40 years out from today. What are some of the predictions that I've got about how business is going to be even different? So I'll read these off. So let's talk about what entrepreneurship is going to be like in 2066. First, I believe that the workforce will be 50% distributed. What that means is that 50% of the people that you work with in your business will not be there in that physical location. There will always be an importance to have people there working equally. But let me tell you how I got DocStock started. I did not start DocStock with a group of people in a room working on building out this website. I had a friend who did design that lived 30 miles away, and I told him what I wanted the design of that website would be. And then I went on one of these sites. You can go to lots of these sites to find folks anywhere in the world that will put a bid for your project. Sites like Odesk and Elance and Guru. And I said, I want to build this website, and here's my budget. And there was a firm in India that responded. And I spent 5 months every day from 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. on the phone with a really nice fellow who to this day I've never met, named Danish, who I believe was a 22-year-old Indian developer. And Danish every morning would ask me, how are you doing this evening, Jason? Are you tired? Are you ready to work together? I would say, Danish, I'm ready to go. We're going to do this. And Danish and his group helped us build that very first version of DocStock. And what we will find is that whether it's people that are working remotely for us, helping to build software, or people that will do our legal or accounting work completely overseas, or folks that are going to build a physical product that we're going to sell, or our head of sales that lives in New York when we live in Santa Monica, the vast majority of the folks that we work with, our workforce, are going to be distributed. Second prediction, 2 out of every 5 workers in the United States will be entrepreneurs. Today, there are 120 million people in the workforce in the United States. Of that 120 million people in the workforce, there are 28 million small businesses. Of the 28 million small businesses, 22 million small businesses are businesses of one. They're what the SBA called non-employer businesses. One of the fastest growing demographics in the United States over the last 10 years are businesses of one. And it's not related just because when the economy goes down, more people start working for themselves. It's the absolute most popular category. And I strongly believe in the next 40 years, you're going to find that almost half of everyone in the United States is an entrepreneur. Now, that may not mean that they have 10, 20, 100, 1,000 people working for them. It may just mean that they're providing their services not to any one company, that they're an independent contractor, and that they wake up and from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. they work for company X, and from 11 to 1 they spend time with their family, and from 1 to 4 they work for company Y, and from 6 p.m. until 11 p.m. they work for company Z. Or they may be selling their own products online. But the world of entrepreneurship is going to dramatically change. And what's also going to dramatically change is minorities and women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs and businesses of one, not white males. And so the kind of businesses and the kind of products and the kind of services we see today are going to inevitably change over time as well too. And it's going to be really exciting because there won't be any barriers of cost and there won't be any age discrimination. And I think that the expectation will be that we are going to want to work for ourselves and not for anybody else. And by the way, this is the graph that you can see from 2002 of 2011 of the total number of businesses in the United States that are businesses of one. It is one of the few areas related to employment that you see consistently go up and to the right. Number 3, the office will be the classroom. It is pretty ridiculous that today, to go to the typical average private university in the United States, you are going to leave at 21 years old with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And your options will be, in many cases, that if you're lucky, to get a job for $20,000 to $30,000 a year. That model is broken. It is not sustainable. It will not continue. Remember we were talking about the old is new? When this country was found, what was the path? What did people do? Did most people go off to a 4-year institution for 4 years? Or an 8 years of school like I got stuck in? No. They became apprentices. And their apprenticeship, and whatever their trade and craft was their education. And the reason why institutions like SMC are going to be all the more valuable over the next 10, 20, 30 years is because the model of what will happen is you will see more and more people that at 18 years old, when they finish high school, either start working for somebody else or start working for themselves, and their education comes in their office and is supplemented by schools like SMC, where they're not dedicating 4 straight years of their life to have a classroom experience and nothing else, but they're having a classroom experience that is augmenting their work experience, that they take the lessons from and immediately apply. And it doesn't make sense to go to school for 4 years to leave with a $20,000 job and $200,000 in debt, when today, you at 18 years old can spend 2 years as an engineer and command in Southern California a $100,000 salary. And can spend 3 years in the Bay Area and can command a $180,000 salary. And so the model will be that the workplace becomes the classroom, and the expectation will be of employers that they spend more time and more resources and allow more for their employees to be educated in that workplace environment. And employees will self-select into those companies that allow for that experience. Number 4, entrepreneurs will be engineers. This model that we have, this mythical thing of, the entrepreneur is the person that's just, the greatest salesperson and so charismatic and just people are drawn to him or her, I've always thought was a fallacy. Some of the most thoughtful, successful, amazing entrepreneurs are the most quiet, introverted, shy, awkward folks that you will ever meet. And they're the ones that hire the charismatic people to do all those things that they don't want to have to do day to day. But whereas over the last 100 years, devices, mechanics have run our lives, right? Think about it. What's run our lives over the last 100 years? We get in our car. It's a mechanical process. We use our toaster, our oven, our stove, our refrigerator. Our life is powered by these devices. Our life is dependent upon these devices. If you take these devices away, we can't live our day-to-day lives without major interruptions. You can't take your toilet away and have a normal day. Over the next 20 years, every single one of these devices is going to be powered 100% by software and not mechanics. When I get into my car today, if I get into an accident, that car automatically calls the hospital and says how many passengers were in the car, which airbags deployed, and how severe the accident is. That's not mechanics. That's software. The other day, the battery in my new car died. There is no key I can turn it in to start it. There was nothing I could do mechanically to try to jump my own car. I have an on-off button now. I had to call the help center and have them send out the mechanic to restart the car. And the reason why youth also has an advantage is because now more than ever, engineers have the advantage in entrepreneurship. The folks that can actually build something. When I was starting DocStock, was at the mercy of people that could build software. I had the idea. I had the capital, right? I had my $20,000 in savings. I had the time, effort, and energy. but I couldn't make my product without engineers. And the co-founder of our company was our CTO and is our CTO. And increasingly as an entrepreneur, it is more and more important that you are technical. And if you are not technical as an entrepreneur, man, you are setting yourself up for failure. And the last and final prediction is, despite every single way that things will be different and newer, and our networks and our size and software is going to run things, and we have to be technical, and we have to take care of our brand, and all these ways that technology is going to change things, and all the new wave of entrepreneurs coming in, and people aren't going to want to work for other people. Business, the most important parts of business, will always get done like this, with another person. And I often tell the folks in my office, stop hiding behind your computers. Get off email. Pick up the phone. Go meet somebody. We work with people and we do business with folks that we touch, see, smell, like, have a good feeling about. You don't get a good feeling about somebody over email or over FaceTime. You do it having a meal and breaking bread and having a drink together and really getting to know them. And so no matter how much things change over time, business will always be done in person, face to face. And the most important aspects of any business deal, opening up a relationship, closing a deal, making sure your customer's happy, are going to get done that way. And what's exciting and invigorating is today, I can open up my laptop, I can pull out my phone, and within 10 minutes, I can meet any number of entrepreneurs or people that I'd want to work with me or for me in a matter of minutes. And that's exciting. And that's powerful. And I would say there is no time other than now in the history of the world that it's been as exciting and as amazing to be an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of ways that things going forward are going to look different. But the core basics of how business is going to get done is going to stay the same. So thanks for having me here today.